So I'm quitting heroing episode number 6. So this specific episode of I'm quitting heroing was definitely not the most exciting, but this episode is exactly what I wanted from the anime all along. The questions that have been risen up since the introduction of Leo, and especially over the last 2 episodes when we kind of got to see glimpses of potentially his past or another world that he lived in, has always been really, really interesting to me, and has been one of the main questions that, because guys, you know how anime does, right? It's like it might introduce these questions, but it might not answer them. It might not answer them directly. It may not answer them at all ever. So a lot of times we just don't know exactly what we're gonna get. So I'm extremely pleased that we finally got the answer for where Leo, or his origination story, where he finally came from. So during a moment, this episode where he was talking with Melnes, obviously they're working on their communication and getting Melnes kind of out of his realm and getting him to speak and talk and do all those things. During a conversation that he was having, he finally decided that he was going to pour his heart out to Melnes for whatever reason, right? After Melnes had asked him, hey, why don't you just eradicate, humans? They did you dirty. They did you wrong. You have the power. Why don't you just use it? Why don't you use that power and get back at them and do something about what has happened to you? And because of that finally kind of got him to vomit out his whole entire life story, which was extremely interesting to learn about. So we finally get a glimpse at where he came from, which is he came from this world, but what ended up happening is, in I guess you can call it a modern society, or we can call it like now, right? We can say that, okay, hey, right now in Tokyo, what ended up happening was there was a massive demon invasion. So demons erupted from the ground, and they came out to attack the world. And some demons came to try and just, find a better place to live. So some demons came not bearing any ill will, and they just came to live in the lands. But most of the demons that came out were trying to take over the world, and that ended up having a massive war erupt. And the humans being, weaker than demons, not knowing magic, again, modern society, current state, the only thing they had was physical weapons. So I love how the storytelling was, because Leo describes that it would take around 12 humans, right? It would take around 12 humans with modern weapons to destroy one demon. And eventually the demons were winning. So, of course, humans have science, so what they ended up doing was, I'm sure, doing heavy experiments on demons that they had been capturing, etc. And they had decided to kind of create their own demons of their own, so they kind of mixed humans with demons, and they did some science witchcraft stuff, and they were able to create these 12, I think it was 12 sets of people who were the defenders of the world. And Leo, and they all got different traits, different abilities, and Leo specifically. And I don't know how this would happen, because even if they were to do experiments on demons and stuff, demons don't live forever. Their time is still finite, so it's weird that he kind of got immortality almost. But essentially, Leo was built to be sturdy and to be almost impenetrable. And because of that basically gave him almost non-aging immortality. And he was able to outlive all of his other comrades that he had. They all end up dying off. And the way he describes it, which is, you can kind of feel the pain in his words, but the way he describes it is in the unfortunate sense, he didn't die. He didn't get to join his comrades. Instead, he was able to succeed and live on. And throughout the generations, over and over and over, his main thing was protect humanity, protect humanity. So the different wars that would ensue, the different invasions that would happen, he would protect and protect and protect. And he kept coming out the victor, just like he did when 𝐒𝐡𝐚𝐧𝐧𝐞𝐥 attacked most recently. Again, he came out the victor. And Melnes asked, how old are you? Because, obviously, Leo had talked about her dad, and her dad had invaded hundreds of years ago. And he was like, yeah, the mage that stopped them, the sage mage, that was me. And Melnes was just baffled and basically got mind overload by how old Leo is and how long he's been around. But I just thought that was just so important and such a cool fact to know, and it does so well to build him up as the character, because then he follows it up with saying, no one's ever said these words to me before, but I was happy when the humans said that they wanted to outcast me and kill me, and not basically the human race doesn't want anything to do with Leo anymore. And he was like, I've never felt so pleased and happy by that, because basically they cut the barrier, they cut the cord to him, to where the next time humanity needs protecting, good luck. He doesn't have to be there anymore, because they cut ties. So he's happy from that. So that's his motivation for joining, coming and joining the demon side, is he gets to have free will. He gets to choose what he does, who he protects, what he works for, what he doesn't work for. And I think that is incredibly important. And overall, I think this episode, again, not exciting, very important. And especially if you're a fan so far, or if you're enjoying this series, I think this episode really stands out, because it built up our main character in, it gave him humanity, it gave him a backstory, it gave us understanding of him. We understand his motivations, his demotivations, where he was inspired, where he failed, how he fell in love, out of love. He even stated that at some point, people have been important to him, he's lost them. So he's lived thousands of years at this point, or at least a couple of thousand, or maybe almost a couple of thousand years now. So he's lived lifetimes upon lifetimes upon lifetimes. And he's able to recognize certain traits within people, where he calls the whole group 𝐒𝐻𝐻 and them a bunch of goofballs. So, again, really love this episode. I thought it was really important. It's exactly what I wanted to know, ever since it was kind of started to be revealed, and I'm really happy that it was. And I think this episode was really, really awesome. And I love the fact that it wasn't this big, overarching story, but it was able to convey exactly what it needed to. So that's kind of my spiel on this episode. Really loved it. Thought episode 6 was really, really good. I'm interested to see kind of what happens next, as, eventually he's going to have to gravitate closer to 𝐒𝐻𝐻, so I'm waiting for that to kind of happen. That's the next big thing. But next episode's preview was focused around Edwald and his daughter, and it was focused around, a good soldier isn't a good commander. So we know we're going to get Edwald's kind of story next, because so far we've gotten Stelna, we've gotten Lily, we've even gotten him spending a little bit of time with 𝐒𝐻𝐻𝐻, and now Edwald's the next kind of one to, kind of be on his list to spend time with. So very excited for that. But so far, guys, thank you guys for joining me for another week of I'm Quitting Heroing. This was a really great episode. Really glad to see it. I will see you guys next Tuesday for episode number 7. And until then, have a great rest of your week, guys. Peace out.